everyone, and welcome to The Perfect Place to Start. This is a series dedicated to embracing resilience and fostering genuine conversations. I'm your host, Meg Gluth. In each episode, I have the privilege of speaking with remarkable guests who have navigated some of life's most challenging experiences and come out the other side by taking the next step forward. In this series, we dive into topics often left unspoken: mental health, the true meaning of success, navigating relationships, and the full spectrum of life's highs and lows. Our mission is to break the silence around these issues, offering a platform for open and honest dialogue that can inspire and empower us all. The inspiration behind this series comes from my own journey. My experiences have taught me that the darkest moments often hold the greatest potential for growth. Join us as we uncover the powerful stories of resilience, celebrate victories, and learn how to navigate life's challenges together. This is the perfect place to start, and every conversation is a step forward. Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Meg. I'm excited about today's conversation. Today's guest is someone that's very special to me. I am talking to Marjalena Santos, who is the Chief Operating Officer of my company, but also my very best friend in the world. So a couple of disclaimers about today's discussion for everybody listening. If you're doing that in your car with your kids, this might not be that chat. Mar and I have a long relationship, and the details of which maybe come out in this conversation today. Maybe they don't. We'll see. But what tends to happen is some of the language from time to time can get colorful. So that is the warning for anybody listening. But I'm super excited and just entertained by the notion of having this conversation today. Everybody knows that the conversation is called The Perfect Place to Start. And so I'm doing this with people who have interesting starting places and interesting perspectives. And I'm a naturally curious person and enjoy talking to people about all of their various starting places. So anyway, I want to welcome you, Mar, to this conversation with me. You've gotten to be on the other side and watch other people's conversations be recorded, but this is your very first time being on this side of the microphone. How does that feel today?
It's different to be on the other side of the curtain. When you're in the background, it's easy to see kind of everything that's happening when it's happening, and it slows down a lot when you're in the chair.
Yeah.
You know, everything's fast moving in the background, lighting, mic checks, and then you sit in the chair and all of a sudden you're aware of everything. You're breathing, where you're looking, your posture. So, but I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do me a favor and just in whatever way feels authentic to you, introduce yourself.
People who know me as Mar. My full name, which I enjoy saying, is Marjalena Maria Flores Santos. I was raised in California. I came out to Seattle for college. I've been here for a little over 22 years. And, I come from a relatively small family. I'm the middle child of 3 girls. I have an older sister, a younger sister, mom and dad, all still living. I've been fortunate to have my older sister move to Washington. Most of my family stayed in California until recently. My mother recently retired and joined us here. And I have a wonderful wife named Laurel, who I love and adore. We've been married for 2 years now. And I really enjoy Washington. I love being around people. And I've been working at Catalent now for going on 20 years. So I'll be coming up on my 20-year anniversary in 2025.
Right on. So you started when you were 4.
I did actually.
Yeah. That's cool. So you came of age at this company, and we can talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
I kind of want to just go hard in the paint with you because I feel like that's sort of how we do. So I want to just kick the conversation off by saying, like, is there, you know what you're here to do. You've sort of seen this done. Is there a moment you could tell me about where you have a starting place that's particularly transformative in your life?
The one that comes to mind is when I got divorced. It was really transformative because, first of all, it was one of the hardest things I did. I was just getting ready to turn 30. I had been with someone for close to a decade, and what I discovered about myself is that I had ended up in a life that didn't really belong to me, that I hadn't designed for myself, and that over time I had given up pieces of who I was to fit and accommodate a spouse and a life that I thought I wanted. And when I stopped and slowed down and looked around, I realized I didn't want any of it. And there was some pain there because there were some beautiful things inside that relationship, but I'd also lost a lot of who I was. And I had to kind of start over. I mean, literally start over, move out, get a new place. I couldn't afford my car. I had to move into a 400 square foot studio. I had to figure out who I was and who I was going to be and what I wanted. And then I also kind of did that reverse thing where you look at everything and you examine it. Like what went well, what went rough. I was really lucky though, because I had really amazing people in my life to help get me through it. And I think about where I've come from there, and everything is a reminder for me to just keep creating the life that I want. And so I find myself in these moments where I'm reflecting on and going, okay, is this the life that I want? Is this the person I want to be? Are these the things I want to be doing? And I do that check a lot.
Sure.
Because 10 years ago, I mean, so this is the crazy thing. It was 10 years ago, actually, because I'm 40 now. I just turned 40 this year. And so actually when I turned 40, I realized I had this really emotional moment. Because 10 years ago, I thought my life was over.
Well, let's stop. Let's go back even further. So you're 40 and you're like, okay, 10 years ago, I got divorced. I want to go back 10 years before that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the woman that gets into this relationship. Because I feel like everybody talks about their divorce and how relationships come apart. And it is super, super transformative. But let's talk about the person. Tell me who Mar is when you meet your first wife.
Oh my gosh. I am 21 years old.
Okay.
Barely turned 21.
So what is 21-year-old Mar all about?
Going to college.
Because, girl, I feel like we would have hung out then.
Oh, we would have hung out. So I had long curly hair like a lion's mane.
Okay.
I played college ball. I was always in some kind of track jacket. I was sassy. I was outspoken. I wore colorful clothes. I went everywhere. Every person was a new person to me, to hang out with, to spend time with. I was really committed to everything that I was doing. I was going to school. I was working 2 jobs. I was playing sports full time. And then I was a TA on the side, helping with an English class. I had a ton of people I spent time with. I visited my family whenever I could visit them. I was a living life full, out loud, unapologetic, sassy Latina from California. That's who I was.
Right on.
Yeah.
And then what happened? You meet this person. Tell me about that.
I met this person one of the first times I ever went to a gay club in Seattle, actually.
Okay.
It was an event called Girl for Girl. I don't even know if they have it anymore. I mean, that's how old I am.
Well, we know it starts at 6 and ends by 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went there. Actually, I wasn't even supposed to go there. I was on a date I was actually on a date. And I had a friend who said, I really need you to be my wing woman because my ex might be there at this club and I want you to go. So I left the date I was at to go to this club. And I'm like, I don't even know how long I'm going to be here, whatever. And then I met her.
Okay. And tell me, so you're just going hard in the paint again in your own life. You're living life out loud. You're in a track jacket and a sports bra and doing the
That's
whole
exactly
thing.
what it was. I was in a track jacket, a sports bra.
I'm certain of it.
That was back when Mariah Carey jeans were in, where the zipper was this big.
100%.
So everything's low cut.
Yep.
And I've got the bell bottoms and the flip flops.
And you're 21, so your belly is just
flat.
Yeah.
Rock solid, because I also played sports.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was me. And then giant lion mane of hair. And hoops.
Got it.
Yeah.
How big are them hoops?
The bigger the better.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So you're in this club and you meet this person.
Mm-hmm.
What is let's not talk about the physical, but what's the attraction? What are you looking for at this person?
I wasn't really looking for anything, honestly. I was out on the dance floor dancing because I'm a person who loves to dance. And I happened to bump into her. Mm. And so then we started dancing. And honestly, after the song ended, I left. Okay. And then she followed me.
Okay.
And was waiting for me when I was with a friend. And I went, oh, hey again.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we exchanged numbers. She was in the military at the time. This is back when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was still in effect, Air Force. And so she was at the base in McCord before it became a joint.
Yep.
So she was about an hour or so away. And actually at the time I had no car. I'm in college. I have no car. Barely got my license at 18. And so I remember she told me where she lived and I went, well, it was nice to meet you because I don't have a car.
Right.
Well, she started to drive back and forth to meet me. We dated and we dated for the rest of my time at Seattle U actually. And then she deployed when I graduated. We were together. And the change happened right after I graduated, actually, like with our dynamic of our relationship. When she first met me, she was like, you're amazing. You're just this bright star. You're incredible. I love the shine that you have and your energy and all that stuff. The moment I graduated college and the moment we got together officially, little pieces of me started to be asked to shift.
Now, I can see that coming because you're this flame and you're like living out loud and whatever else, but you're strongly attracted to somebody who's in the military, which sort of comes with its own stereotypical set of character qualities. And if they don't exist in the person to begin with, the military sort of implants them.
Yeah, shapes you.
That's right. So there's some part of you that's sort of attracted to that and is a little bit fertile ground for this change.
Yeah, I liked the stability and the strength that was felt in this person. And she was also older than me by a few years. So there was a maturity there, right? And so what ended up happening is that I graduated and there was literally a conversation of like, okay, now you're graduated, you're an adult, you're 22. You can't do that anymore. You can't act the way you act anymore. You can't go out with people the way that you went out and you can't dress the way you dress.
What did you do?
I fought it. At first, I'm like, I look great in shorts. I'm going to wear shorts. I'm going to wear skirts.
Were they shorts, girl, or were they denim panties? Like, what's the...
They were denim panties.
Yeah.
But I have really long legs.
I'm not trying to air you out, but you know.
No, but at the time, they were short shorts. They're everything that they were my style. And so little by little, my wardrobe changed, right? Because after a while, you don't want to get hounded by like, what are you wearing? How are you dressing? How are you looking? So it started off with physical stuff first, how I dress. And then it shifted to who I hang out with, where I go. And when you're on a military schedule, so she actually got out of the military and then joined the air traffic control, which also has military hours. So her days off would be like Monday, Tuesday. So she'd be working on the weekends and the evenings. So my Friday comes and I want to go hang out with friends. Well, she's going to be working. She's going to get off at a certain time. She wants me to be home when she's home. But I just finished work and I want to go out with my friends. So there was a lot of those battles of me trying to keep my own identity of who I was. And over time, the thing that happens is, I don't want to demonize this person and make it sound like they're just this terrible whatever, because there were good moments in this relationship. And I don't even know if she knew she was doing it over time, but it was keeping me closer and closer to her and separating me from other people, I feel like. And also separating me from myself. And I say that because the shift kind of midway into our relationship was that she started telling me I was too much. That people didn't like me. I was too much for people and that I make people uncomfortable and that when I go places, I need to tone myself down. Yeah. Which, I'm sure I was like, oh my gosh. What? I make people feel uncomfortable? People don't like me? And so then, of course, what do? You scan everything about yourself. Yeah. How do I talk to people? How am I? So then what happens? What do you do when you go out? You're self-conscious. I was just a vessel. Didn't know what to do. Didn't want to smile too much. Didn't want to be too loud. Didn't want to laugh too loud. Didn't want to say anything offensive. Didn't want to do anything. So then I would just stand there and just be in the room. Yeah. Hanging out. But then I'd get in trouble for that, right? Yeah. What's wrong with you? People are asking, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you talking to people? Why don't you do anything? And I got to this place where I'm like, but you said I'm too much and people don't like me. So I'm trying to. So I was in this push-pull battle with myself.
Were you conscious of it?
No, I wasn't. Not till the end when it got really bad.
Right.
Because I had people that told me they started to notice it.
Right. But while it's happening, you're not really conscious of it. Do you feel like you were conscious of like, hey, I'm missing myself. I'm like losing myself. Like, did you have bouts of that or was it?
I noticed I was happiest and most self-expressed when I wasn't around her. When I was around friends who knew me before I knew her, when we were separated. I spent a lot of time on my own with friends because of her schedule. And then also we did different things. And so for a long time, there was actually a joke because a lot of people didn't even know her. And so some people were like, are you even married? We haven't even met your wife. And I'm like, yeah, she just works crazy hours. She does different things. And so the thing I noticed was I was the most fulfilled when I was around people who I felt I could be myself around, who had never criticized me or didn't know me attached to her.
Did you want to do anything about that?
I did actually. Later, actually the same year that we ended up getting separated and everything, one of my college coaches, Kim, she was my outfield coach for all 4 years I was at Seattle U. She introduced a program to me called Landmark Education. It was really funny because when she asked me about it, she said she didn't really tell me about the program, what I could get out of it. She said she posed it in a way of like, there's this program you can go to, this 3-day event where you can get really deep, and if there's something that you really want in your life that you desire, you can have it. It's all about like understanding who you are, all that, and like it's the choice is yours if you want to do it. And she said, well, what do you want to create for yourself? And do you know at the time what I said? Money. I want to make money. I want to be professional. I want to get far in my career. Like that's what I was like, okay, I'm just going to do that. That's what I want to do.
Interesting note, because that happened for you.
It did.
Yeah.
On the side of it.
Yeah.
Without the intent. So I went there with the idea that I was going to create that.
Right. And then what happened?
I got there and it wasn't anything what I was going to create.
Yeah.
What I created and discovered in this conference was all these things about myself that like I had created, like this identity I was making that wasn't really me. These layers outside of my own authentic self that were keeping me from being myself. And so then it started to kind of highlight, oh my gosh, where are places where I'm self-abandoning?
Yeah.
Where are places where I'm not being myself or I'm fitting myself to be a certain person or a certain way? The other thing that came out of it was my relationship with my dad. I hadn't spoken to him at this time for nearly a decade.
Yeah.
We'd had a falling out. And I discovered that I really did want him in my life. And so I'd reached out to him and called him in that. So at this event, when I went there looking for money and career accolades, like how could I get that? What I found was actually myself and my family, which is pretty crazy, you know?
Well, it is and it isn't. Like you go into this place with the intention of having, you know, ultimate destiny, career and money and success and abundance. And then in so doing, it's like the universe is saying, like, first you got to find yourself.
First, to get there, you got to start somewhere. Yeah.
Okay. So take us, you know, I'm going to call this like a period of gyration then.
Yeah.
Right. So now your antennas are up, your receptors are up, and you're running into presumably other life experiences and people and situations and whatever, which are causing you to awaken. Is that a fair?
Oh my gosh. Everything in my life at that moment, everything was on the table to be examined.
Right.
Why am I doing that? Why do I think that? What I feel like? What I believe that? Who's this person in my life? Is it because I really want them? Is it because I think I'm supposed to? Everything was up to be explored. Now, the challenge was I was still in my relationship.
Yeah.
And so I'm coming home doing this. And it's causing an uprising in my own home, right? Because now I'm changed. I'm not who she thought I was. I'm different. And the thing I had to say is, I'm not who I thought I was either.
Yeah, because I wasn't who I was when I was who you created me to be.
Yes. And I remember in this program, there's journaling, you write letters, you call people, there's a lot of work there. I remember I had a phone call with my coach, Kim, who helped me kind of through things. I remember I was bawling. I'm parked outside in a car outside my house at the time. Yeah. And I am just crying. And she said something to me that I won't forget. She said, I don't forget. I think about it all the time when I kind of check myself she said, Mar, when you're being yourself, you light up a room. People love being around you. You just have this energy about you. She said, I love you. You're one of my favorite people. When you're not, man, you suck the energy out of the room. And I remember it kind of hurt my feelings. And then it made me laugh because I felt that too. But I thought I was the only one who felt
What does
that.
it feel like to have your own self suck your own energy out of a room?
It's actually exhausting.
Say more.
It feels like it's exhausting more than if I'm just being myself because I'm taking so much of my own energy and space to show up a certain way that I think other people want for me or to contain myself. That at the end of the day, I'm exhausted because I'm not just allowing myself to be free.
Right.
So it's a little bit more, it's harder on your body and on your mind. And I mean, it took a toll on my heart, if I'm being really honest. And I didn't know that other people knew. I thought nobody could see me.
Yeah.
And then there's this moment where this person's like, I see you.
Yeah.
You know? So that's why I remember it so much.
Mm.
And Kim is such a special person. When I got married, she actually is the one I asked to speak for me at my wedding. You know, when people do speeches and stuff about who people are, a lot of times that's parents. And I asked Kim to do it because she met me when I was 18.
Yeah.
And still remains close to me to this day. So she's seen me in so many stages of my life, and she knows me. She knows my heart. She knows who I am. And she helped me to find myself.
Yeah, because it seems like it's two parts. It's to be seen and then to have somebody else speak it to you.
Yeah.
Not to somebody else, not to gossip about you, like not to you know, trade on the currency of your suffering.
No, but to help share my truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was that's why it was so beautiful and kind. That's what I'm saying. It hurt me, and it also made me laugh because I'm like, oh my God, it's so obvious.
Right.
What she said wasn't wrong. I didn't disagree with her. I just didn't know she saw it that way.
Right.
And that other people saw it that way too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I thought I was, because in my mind, metaphorically, whatever you want to call it, I felt like I was disappearing. But she still saw me.
Yeah.
She kind of did a little flashlight. Hey, you still in there, Mar?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100. I do. So I know you at this time. I meet you while you're still married, and
You do. Oh my! You meet me. That's right. So you came out in 2012, and I think we separated in 13 or 12, right? Almost right nearby.
mm-hmm.
Like,
And
you came on scene.
You were living two lives. You were living the life when she was around, and you were living like who you were when she wasn't around. I think
Because I think you got to meet her with me maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I wasn't a fan.
I remember that entire meeting because I remember going, "Oh, this is not going well."
I don't have a poker face about that shit.
No, and you were new to me.
Yeah.
Like you were just coming into my life, and I remember I was like, "Oh, this could be cool." Like
Mm.
room of lesbians, hanging out, whatever.
Yeah, no.
It wasn't that.
No.
It was actually fucking awkward, if
Yeah.
I'm being really honest.
Yep.
And I was like, "We have to leave." But we were at our place, so we couldn't. So I was like, "You have to go, Meg.
You got to get out.
You have to go because I can't leave because I own this place." Yeah.
How did it end? I mean, I already know, but how did this relationship end? And you can tell whatever part you want. You can talk about what it was internally for you. You can talk about the external factors. You can.
So for a long time, I told people it ended because she cheated on me.
Yeah. Because she did.
Because she did.
Yeah.
She did. But what I've learned going through so many pieces of life, cheating doesn't end anything unless you really want it to end. People stay after all sorts of things. And in fact, she asked me to stay afterwards. And I tried it for 3 months. I thought, you know what? Maybe I could get past it. Maybe we could be okay. Maybe it doesn't matter because she really loves me. She says she loves me. I was so miserable.
Mm.
I remember going to work and being like, I was like a hollow shell of myself. And honestly, I think about it, like the closest people to me at the time were the people at work.
Yep.
At what was TRI at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy because I think about it too. I remember days where I came into work and I'm like, I'm not sure I can be here and do anything. And I had people at work, I'll take care of that. I'll hold you. I'll take care of that thing. I've got that.
Yeah.
And you were one of those people.
Mm.
And so she cheated. 3 months. I think of it like I just like drug myself every day to try to get up, to try to be happy, try to make something of it because I was afraid to let go of the life that I thought I wanted. We had a house, we had a boat, we had a cabin in Leavenworth. I grew up freaking dirt poor. I didn't know if I was going to ever have anything of my own. And now I'm like, oh God, I got to give up all this.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was bigger than just the relationship. It was like everything I thought I could ever have, And I had attached it to that person.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard. And you saw me in an alley one day.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I was smoking.
Girl, I know you're crying and shit, but this was one of those moments you look back on a friendship and you go like, man, like we could chuckle at it now, right? But
oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me.
No, I'm smoking in an alley after work, making plans to sleep in the office because I don't have anywhere else to go.
Which was bullshit.
feeling embarrassed about my life.
Mm-hmm.
And you were at an event or doing something, and so you were still at the office late. And you were coming to get your car, and you're like, what are you doing? And I just broke down. And I was like, I think I'm going to get a divorce, my relationship, I got cheated on. I don't know what to do. I'm just going to sleep here tonight. And do you remember what you told me?
I think I said, like, if there's a bleep or what, I think I said, the fuck you are.
That's exactly. You said, get your shit. Let's go. You're coming to my place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did.
Mm.
And then not too long after that, you know, there was just a moment. I remember I went back to my house and I was standing around looking around. And I just was like, I gotta go. I can't be here anymore.
Do you know what that moment was about? Like, do you have a consciousness, or was it just like I have this urge to leave and I can't explain it?
We were standing upstairs. We had like a loft.
Mm-hmm.
There's living room. We were standing, I was at the top of the stairwell, and she was in the living room. And she said, can I have both? Can I have this other person?
Mm.
And can I have you? Because I really love our life together, but I want to have this other thing from time to time. And in that moment, I got real quiet. And up until then, I had been losing my shit, right? Like, I'm like angry, I'm fighting, I'm doing everything I can because I'm like, do I want to keep this person? Do I not? I'm angry, I'm crying, getting mad. You know, you do the things that you do when you're destructive, right? Because you don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're just like in fight or flight, you're in survival. In that moment, I remember I went inward.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you are better than this. You want more than this.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, I gotta go. And I found an apartment fast. And I'm like, okay, I'm moving out. I'll be out of here in like a week, and I'm gonna come and get my shit.
Before you move past that moment, though, it occurs to me, like, here's the offering. You tell me if it's true, that you both wanted both. You both wanted this life.
Yeah.
You weren't cheating, but you were moonlighting with your true self.
That's right. I wasn't cheating, but I had two different lives. I had the person I wanted to be when I wasn't around her, and I had the person I was to stay in the life I had.
I mean, so arguably you both were having the same experience.
We were. Because truthfully, there was a moment, if I'm being really honest, where everything happened, I had known that this was a thing.
Yeah.
Because she had gone to training years before, and I had felt an energy. I'm a person who can feel energy in people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd felt an energy when I met her where I was like, oh, what's up with the two of you?
Mm-hmm.
And I was told I was crazy. I didn't know what I was thinking. And then you know what? I didn't want to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it away. And in some ways, I did at first. I was like, why did you have to tell me? We could have just stayed like this. We could have just been married forever, and we could have just lived our lives and sorted it out. But that was the me. Like, when I look back at that, that's not me. When I think about who I am, that's not a me. That's not a Mar that I am, where I'm like, I'm just going to live here with nothing, with nothingness, and just get what I get. No, I want what I want. And I want to live my life, and I want to enjoy it. But I was a weak version of myself. I was a version that was torn down and told that nobody loved me, nobody wanted me around, people didn't like me, and that they were just tolerating me. And so I'm like, okay, well, if this is the only person who truly loves me, I got to stay here.
Yeah.
And what I discovered for myself is, it's funny because I want to say what I discovered for myself, but the truth is I wasn't quite sure. When I left, I want to be able to say, like, and then I knew in that moment I was worth everything and whatever. But that's not true.
I don't think anybody's perfect places start like that.
I was half in, half out. Like, I know people love me. I know I'm a good person. I know I'm great. I hope they love me. I hope they know I'm great. Mm-hmm. I hope I'm everything I think I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're kind of in that, like, that moment where you challenge yourself. And I was waiting for the right answer, the right time. Like, what's the right thing? But there was no right thing.
Mm-hmm.
There was just what I had to do for me. And so after all these years of choosing her and choosing that life, I just chose myself. whatever it meant, however it looked. And it was scary. Because if I'm being honest, I hadn't been alone. I hadn't really lived on my own since I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm turning 30.
Mm-hmm.
And most of my adult life has been with this one person.
Right.
Also, I got to figure out who I am.
Right. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Because you do, as you alluded to, you do move into a 400 square foot apartment and you end up with a little Honda Fit because you could afford it. You got rid of the boat. You got rid of the cabin. Like, you know, you lose everything, right? Like you go from...
I had to borrow from my 401k.
Yeah.
I took out a loan from the company
Mm-hmm.
that I could pay off over time. I mean, I went bare boned scrap to the beginning.
Yeah. And also, you know, I recall like coworkers paying for storage units and shit like that.
Oh
like,
my gosh. I had
service of angels a little bit, you know?
I have beautiful people in my life. One of my favorite stories, when I went to move, it was November 15th of that year. And there were 4 people in the company that took a day off of work, took their own PTO time to help me move from my house in Auburn to downtown Seattle. And we got a truck. We loaded up, we were loading everything up. We did breakfast sandwiches. We did the whole deal. It was amazing. My favorite part of that is Sandra Fuller. If anybody knows her, just a badass. If the apocalypse comes, it's her I want to follow.
Yep.
We pull up to the house.
Yes, I remember.
And she's in this Super Duty truck. And she's loading what looks like a tree. And she's tying it down. It's raining. She's got a raincoat on, blowing in the breeze. And I said, Sandy, what are you doing? Well, she had gifted us this like Japanese maple.
Yep.
And she had gone in before we got there to my backyard and dug it out. And she said, I bought this for you. It's coming with us.
She did. She dug that thing up by the root ball.
And she dug it up and she said, we're planting it in your new place. I said, I don't have a house. I have an apartment with maybe a cement patio. And she said, we'll get you a pot.
Yeah.
And then when we were moving everything, I didn't have enough space for everything because I went from a home to it was like 400 square feet. It was enough, like I could be peeing on the toilet and I could be cooking on the stove. Like that's how tiny it was, right? Like 2 people could barely fit in there. And Sandy gifted me 6 months of paid storage. She said, don't get rid of anything that you don't want to get rid of. Keep everything you want to keep. And she did that. And then my coworkers in the whole company actually put together something. It was a box. Somebody had witnessed somebody going through a big tragedy and found that it was really uplifting to have little gifts and things that people give. And everybody in the company pitched in, and there was a box, and there were gifts to wrap every day, like until like for 30 days or something. Yeah. So that I could have something to look forward to. There were small things like a chapstick and a note, or there was like an inspirational card. There was bubble bath. There was lotion. There was tickets. There were masks. There were colored, like it was everything and anything that like they thought would bring me joy, bracelets, things like that, and personalized notes. It's probably one of the most beautiful things that I'd ever received. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it was really like, for a person who's going through something who doesn't feel like anybody sees them or knows them, and who's wondering, am I lovable? Am I likable? Am I a person that's in the world? Do I make an impact? And then to see people give to me in such a way was like everything that I needed to help me make it through the tough days. Mm-hmm. Some days I opened those presents and I was bawling, feeling weak, but it gave me joy. And other days I felt really empowered and they were just really special. And I ended up making, you know me at craft, I ended up taking all the notes and the little tidbits and things, and I made a giant collage board to remind myself that I'm loved, that people care about me, and that I have value. Yeah. And it was just really powerful for me. Yeah. And, you know, I think about it and I go, gosh, who has people like this in their life? How special.
You do.
You know? So
maybe that's because you're one of those kinds of people. Like we tend to attract good people when we are good people. Yeah. So it's not really like a divorce. Like that's what's happening on the surface. What's happening below the surface for you? Like obviously in the surface world, people see this divorce, you've downsized, da 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 da. But what's happening like below?
When I was in therapy, I said it was like an excavation of my soul.
Say more.
There are pieces of myself that I had let go dormant.
Mm.
There were pieces of like who I was, things I wanted to do, what I believed in, how I wanted to live that I just kind of pushed away to the side as I got in the shuffle of like life. And I had to take time to like really rediscover. I talk about it like if my life was a bag of shit filled with everything I believe in thought, it's like I had to empty out that bag and go, what's this? Mm-hmm. Does this belong to me? Is this mine? Do I really think that, believe that? I don't know. So I had all these piles.
So for the good of the order, because I think it's so easy, like people make movies about this life transition point, and then you cleanly like have this slow spiritual awakening and da 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 da.
Yeah.
I think it's valid to ask the question, like, is this a linear clean process or is this a mess? Like, do you have
this is a
regrettable
mess.
moments? Yeah.
Oh, it's a mess. Do you remember that time I stayed over at your house and I kept knocking on your door to wake up you in your bedroom?
Yeah, I do.
Because what was I doing? I was reading poetry. I was listening to songs, and I'm like, Meg, listen to the lyrics on this song. Do you think this is me? Is this me? It's like 2 a.m. You're just in a nightie, like a nightgown.
It was a nightgown. I wasn't in a nightie.
Not a night. A nightgown.
To be clear, yes.
I think it was scalloped. I can't remember.
Yeah, or it could have been an old Hanes T-shirt that was oversized.
That's how mess. That's a different podcast. But that's how I remember it. Like running around like, what does this mean? What do you think it means? Do you think it means that? Asking 100 people questions that I needed to look inward about, because I'm like, yes, I want to be evolved. I want to know myself. I want to grow. But also, I just want to stop hurting.
Yeah.
I want to stop suffering.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I had lost a whole portion of my life by divorcing this person, these people that are in my life, my house, my car, my things, and people. So things and people were gone. My relationship. Almost 10 years of my life now just suddenly stops. Now I'm like, okay, what about everything else? That felt kind of lonely. Yeah. It felt really empty.
You feel like you coped with some of that, like some good, some bad? Like,
oh yeah. Some good, some bad. There were days where I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't move. That was hard. I remember I did a drink log just to make sure I wasn't drinking too much. And I found I was, because I wrote down like 18. I'm like, margarita, shot of this, shot of that. Now for Tuesday. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I got to Tuesday and went, you know what? I should stop logging and I should just stop, And so I think I did kind of a combination of a little bit of everything. Yeah. It wasn't this smooth and then one day I woke up kind of thing. But it kind of was too.
It's interesting because that time between 30 and 40, it can be easy for someone who might be in something similar right now to hear this story and be like, she made a decision and she began a process, a little bit painful, of like self-inquiry, but she ended up here at 40. Mm-hmm. But you did go through a season of, mild to moderate, substance abuse, alcohol abuse, right? And a few other things.
I walked the line there. Yeah.
And maybe, is it fair to say, like, sort of traded out your better self for, like, dabbling in a couple of relationships that were beneath you in your experimentation to find yourself again? Like,
yeah. I was so hungry for love and acceptance that I took it from anyone.
Right.
I was like, you love me, you see me, you accept me. And so then I accepted less than in other places. Mm-hmm. I kind of overcorrected the skid.
Right.
And so then that was also part of the challenge, because I'm like, wait, I don't want to be this person. Wait, I don't want to do it this way. Like, I was in a constant battle over the last decade of like, wait a minute. I kind of freed myself from this place. And now I'm doing everything opposite, hoping I'm going to get a different result. But that's not it either.
Right.
Like, what I had to dial down into is that there was nothing outside of me that was going to fix all the shit that wasn't happening for me inside.
So say more about that process. How do you stare at that?
Oof.
Because that's the part I think ultimately like we're all avoiding, right?
No, and it's hard because you don't want to sound cliche and be like, because everybody will tell you, of course, you can't find it outside, it's inside, all that stuff like that. But you got to like know that and you got to live that because it's so easy to feel really good out here. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, this person thinks I'm wonderful and lovely and they compliment me and they take me out and they do all this stuff. Okay, but what do I feel about myself in that?
Right.
What about me? Oh, they like it when I do, you know, it's easy to like adapt to your surroundings.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to do was to create myself and then the surroundings adapt to me.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still a work in process, right?
Would you call yourself arrived there?
Arrived where?
I don't know, relationship nirvana where you don't, like your relationship with yourself is so solid that you're not looking for anything outside of yourself?
No, I think it's still something that happens every now and then for
I mean,
me.
do you think a person can ever like...
I know what you're asking. No.
Like, I wonder about this.
I'm like, I know what you're asking. No.
No, I wonder about this because I hear stories like yours and I like obviously like it hits on notes of a lot of different stories. And I'm like, do you ever think this is anything other than just like a daily struggle, sometimes hourly, to like stay true to yourself?
No, I think it's an everyday thing. I think some days are easier than others. I think some days we ease into ourselves more naturally and other days we struggle because I think that we're so vast in who we are and the things that we pick up because some of the stuff that I bring to my relationship now and all my relationships I've been have nothing to do with when I was married before. They have to do with my childhood, how I was with my mom and my dad, my sister interactions, the life I had. Like I'm a compilation of all these things that created who I am. And then every day as new information happens and I meet new people and I get new experiences, I change, I grow, I move. So I feel like it's only natural to think that every day then becomes a different day because the other thing is maybe yesterday I had arrived at a place where I'm like, I know this is exactly who I am and where I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day I get more information or I meet somebody who impacts my life or has this really great experience with me. And I go, wait, it's not that, it's this. And I want the freedom to change my mind to fit the authentic self that I am in any moment. That's what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Some days it's harder than others because my other stuff comes up. Little Mar, my little childhood stuff comes up, peeks up, scares me.
Yeah.
I have a love and intimacy thing that I have to get through. I had a really tough childhood.
Right.
And the truth is that what happened in my first marriage that caused me to be so susceptible to getting rid of myself is because I grew up in a space where I didn't feel loved as a child.
Mm.
I didn't feel seen or accepted.
Right.
I grew up in a family that if you did really well and you performed and you were successful and you accomplished, whether that be in school or athletics or a talent, that you were shown love and you were seen. And so what happened is I learned to trade in that as a child.
Yeah.
And I took it into my adulthood. And so then I became susceptible to that.
Right.
Without even realizing it. You know?
Yeah. Do you feel it sneak up on you now?
I do. I do because in my marriage now with Laurel, she's this kind, gentle, amazing woman who brings out a vulnerability in me that's that I don't have anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And she loves so purely that it spooks me.
Sure.
It kind of spooks me. Because I'm like, wait a minute. Are you sure you love me? Do you really love me? It makes me question that little girl who's like, but do you love me for just loving me? And she does.
Right.
She doesn't need me to show up anyway for her. And she never tells me I'm too much.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't say I'm a burden to her. She doesn't. She just wants to be in the space with me.
Right.
And I'm not used to that.
Right.
And I really like it. And it also scares the shit out of me.
So then what's the work there? Like, in your life, what's the... Because ultimately it's a quest for maintaining authenticity and not self-abandoning.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whether it's in your marriage or in
any
your
other place
job
in my life.
or,
Yeah.
you know, whatever.
It's
So
not
what
limited to just that.
what does that look like?
Looks like a lot of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like therapy for myself to kind of work on the things that I need to work on for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are things that come up that like trigger things inside my childhood or past experiences. And making sure that also I can have a place where I can just say everything I need to say outside of my spot. I'm an external processor.
Yes.
I've found that is not good to do with my partner all the time when it's about my partner.
Really?
When I'm like, ba-ba, it's you. Wait, no, that's not right. But then they've heard that it's them, right? And then it sticks.
You can't unsay that.
No. And so for me, the work there with Laurel and in our marriage is just staying really present to like, who are we? What are we working on? What are we about individually? And then together.
Right.
I'm a much more emotional, like, boom, like I'm passionate. I kind of react fast. And I'm also a person, if I'm getting overwhelmed, I want to cut you off a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
I'm like, nope, defense mechanism up. And Laurel is a slow to burn. She doesn't get angry really fast, but when she does, it's a boom, right? When she's feeling like she's got something to say to me. And even when I say angry, it's funny because Laurel's not an angry person.
Do you do this though, where they're a slow burn and things are super slow and you're fast, and then when they finally do, like they're once in 3 months, you're like, how dare you?
100%. First time, I'm a loud talker, and I'm like, hey, what? First time I ever heard Laurel like raise her voice when she went, hey, I literally I went, excuse me. I said, don't you be raising your voice at me? And she goes, you're always yelling. I said, that's how I talk. This is not how you talk. You talk like this. So when you go like this, it's a problem. I'm like this. So you got to stay. And so that's also part of the challenge, right?
Right.
I'm like this passionate whatever. And so we both have different ways that we express ourselves.
Yeah.
And also, like the biggest thing that Laurel and I talk about too, that she reminds me of is that she wants me to be exactly who I am.
Yeah.
And if she ever does anything to hurt me, it's never intentional.
Right.
And just to tell her.
Yeah.
And then we can work it out.
So Laurel's been on scene for the last, call it 4 years.
Yeah.
But the last decade then doesn't really belong to her.
No.
So a lot's changed in the last decade.
A lot. Mm-hmm.
And even arguably, the attraction into your life of this person who's good can only come if you're in a place where you're attracting that.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have anything to do with anyone else.
Mm-mm.
So what's happening for you in the last decade and all this turmoil? Like, you have some fits and some starts and some, great coping and some bad coping and whatever, but like life has changed. Like, talk a little bit about your evolution.
Outside my relationship.
Well, I mean, your relationship is, like I said, it's one thing that gets added, but there's a career happening. There's
my gosh, there's a whole life happening.
There's a whole life happening.
So in the 10 years, I reflected on this. I was just in tears on my 40th, just thinking about where I've been. So 10 years ago, like I said, I thought my life was over.
Yeah.
I went back to zero with everything. Money, space, things. I had to start over. And at the time, I was also an executive assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And I was about, 10 years into my career. Having done other things, I had just reconnected with my dad, who I hadn't spoken to in a decade.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting connected with my mom and my older sister and my younger sister, who I'd always kept at a distance since I moved away when I was 18. So I started cultivating relationships in my life and places in my life that I felt really fed me and challenged me, I remember not too long after this, I got to a place at work where I think I told you, I told Jeff, and I told Tony, it's about 10 years now. If I'm doing this next year, I'm not here anymore. Like, I started to move into places where I'm like, I don't want to just accept what's being given to me and then make the best of it and do the best, because I'm really great at that. Mm-hmm. I want to be given big things to aspire to move into, and then I want to be challenged, and I want to add to people and to things. And so I feel like it started, you kind of alluded to it before, what I started in my landmark with the intention of gaining in a career and all that stuff like that, it naturally started to develop as I developed myself. Mm-hmm. I learned to, It's weird. I want to say I learned, but I had it before. It's like I remembered myself, my voice, my energy, kind of my strength. I started to stand up for myself a little bit more and speak for myself. When I say stand up for myself, I don't mean like I had to stand up against like a person or a thing. I mean stand up meaning I wasn't just sitting by in my life anymore.
You had to become available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I stood for myself and I started to stand for something. What do I want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Who do I want to be in this world? What impact do I want to make? What do I want to be about?
Yeah. I think it's important to note too, because obviously you and I ran that journey together a little bit. And I've told you this before, that for you professionally, you made yourself available energetically for these things, but you also had to have your ass kicked to the next level, to places that you didn't think that you could go. And I think it's an interesting thing to bring that up. I don't bring that up for any other reason than to say, like, I think sometimes, especially for people who are listening who want more, I think sometimes it's enough to like say, I want more, and to let that be in this space. Because I recall your first promotion out of being an executive assistant because I gave it to you.
Yeah.
And you didn't really want it.
No. I didn't. I said I didn't want to be an EA anymore, but I also didn't have a specific place I wanted to go. I just didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
But I also knew that I could add, like there was somewhere else I could go, you know?
Yeah. But you had, and it's important. I want you to talk to particularly women, like, because I think we struggle with this. You had this moment where I was like, well, I think you need to go into this role. I think you have the potential to do that. And you're like, I can't do that. I'm not ready for that. I don't have the like talent. I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I literally like, you were being kicked into the dark. It's not as though you set this intention of like having this career change and then it just came to you and you felt ready and you just empowered yourself and you said positive shit to yourself.
No, I didn't vision board about any of this.
No.
So
tell us what it's like to like pull yourself to a place, like to know that you want it, but then to like go someplace scary that you can't see and you don't feel equipped for. Because that's real. To want better, to not feel equipped for it. Like, how do you move through that?
I was scared. Because the first position that you asked me about was, I think you're talking about when I moved into compliance.
I am.
Yeah.
And then you quickly went into a VP role.
Yeah, I remember that. So I hadn't really worked on like any of the commercial side of the business. I had always done admin. I've been in the back of the office. If I did anything that was related to people, it was human resources. It was helping to problem solve. I participated in meetings. I was kind of administrative only. Hadn't really ever dipped into commercial. I did that 1 year stint as a customer service rep. And I didn't really, I was glad I did it, but it wasn't really for me. Right? Yeah. And I was nervous because I was being asked to fill the shoes of a person who was retiring, who was amazing at her craft. Nobody else had done it at the business but her. And I had no experience in it whatsoever. And I was being asked to take that on. And I was nervous because I didn't want to fail at it. I didn't want to be bad at it. I didn't want to be the first thing I took into the leap into my next life to be like, yeah, I'm ready. And then be like, oh gosh, what happens if I shit the bed? So there was that moment. Because also I didn't really understand the full scope of what it was, right? It was going to be me digging in and learning for 4 to 5 months with this person before she goes off into the sunset to retire. And then I'm going to be the one handling it for the business. And so I was scared. And I think, what ended up helping me through it is I had really good working relationships with people in the office. And so when I needed help, I asked. When I didn't understand what something was, I asked. I put myself into a place where I was like, I'm only going to get better if I acknowledge that I know and everybody else knows I've never done this before, and that's just irrelevant.
Can I ask, do you think anybody can want better, whether it's in their career or whatever, and aspire for better, but not be just a little bit terrified when they start to get better?
No.
Yeah, that's part of it, I think.
I think it's always part of that. Because I think about it like, I think there's always a part of us that wonders. This is my thought is, I think there's always a part of us that knows that we have something to offer, that wants to be good, that feels all this stuff. But there's always that moment of like, okay, but now I got to put my money where my mouth is. Now I got to walk the walk, and I got to show up, and I got to do this thing. And the other thing I think for me that was happening at that moment is it meant a lot more to me than just a lift. I'm like, okay, Mar, you've shaken your life up. You've said you want to change. You said you're ready for more. This is your more. You didn't get to pick your more. It came to you. This is your opportunity. And I had told myself, if a door opens, I'm going to walk through it. I'm going to just keep taking the next door. I'm going to work as hard as I can. I'm going to learn everything I can. I'm going to add as much value as I can. And then when those doors open, I'm going to take it. I'm going to go to the next thing, whether I'm ready or not.
Yep.
And I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to that next place. And so it was like I was scared, I was uncertain, and I showed up on Monday.
That's right.
You know?
So you're 40.
Yeah.
You look back in this like contemplative, reflective mood. What's that?
If you would have asked me if I thought 10 years ago that I would be the COO of an incredible organization, that I would have the amazing spouse I have, wonderful friends, family, people in my life, a ride or die like you, like, I wouldn't have believed you. I wouldn't have believed you because 10 years ago, I thought I was going to have nothing. And I thought I was going to end up with nothing because that's what it felt like, you know? And now I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This is amazing. And you know what? And it's still hard too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
The work is hard because every day in this job, I'm challenged. I'm like, how is it that people are still asking me things I've never been asked before? And I have to learn things I've never done. Also in my relationship with Laurel, how is it that I am experiencing things I've never experienced in a relationship, 2 years into marriage, family. I'm growing and moving in ways that I didn't think I could. I think, I don't want to speak for everybody, but, when I was growing up, my mom always told me, where we come from, who we are, we got to work extra hard. And maybe we may not get far, but if we just keep trying, maybe we can one day. Like, you just got to put your head down. You got to work hard. And I did that. But sometimes when I did that and I lost sight of myself, I struggled more. And I think surrounding myself with people that could see me is what's helped to shine my light. Because it's not all because of me, What I've learned is that everything that I am is a step from other people who have lifted me up and pulled me and knocked doors down and let me in. Like, when you and I met, you were the general counsel and I was the executive assistant to Tony. And I just see our lives, boom, 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 boom. And I remember when it's more boom, 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 And I look back and I remember we were in a meeting and you had said that you felt like there was more that I could offer to the company. And that me just being an assistant for Tony wasn't adding value in the way that you thought it could. And you spoke and you had a space there and you created an opportunity. You opened a door for me. And I think about that and I go, God, that's what it is, People creating moments and opening doors and helping each other and acknowledging and seeing. And I think that's, I know you've talked about it before. Your gift is that you see things in people even before they see it. And I feel very blessed by the fact that you saw what you saw in me as not only a person, as a friend, but as a colleague, as somebody who could work alongside you.
It may be my gift to see that. I think it's your gift to walk. I think 1,000 doors can be opened for people. I'm not sure everybody's got the chutzpah to walk.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, 40-year-old Mar could say one thing to 30-year-old Mar?
Oof.
What would she say? Other than like, girl, drink some water.
Put the cigarettes down, drink some water, sleep. Hydration is key. Just keep going. Keep going. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on others. And don't let the things that are hard for you harden you towards other people. And that your time will come. And it's going to be really good.
Thank you for talking to me today. Thank you for being authentic and for being you. I love you so much.
Oh, I love you so much. Thank you for this.
You're welcome.